This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Today, what's going on in Madison? Changes at the Cap Times. Coming soon, a mega store most people love. And a congratulations to college graduates this past weekend. Executive producer Haley Sperling is here with me. What's good?
Hello, Bianca. We have so much good news to celebrate this week, which is not always the case. So I'm very excited.
Yes, we're starting out this week right. And let's just get into our first story and welcome our guests for the top of this show. The Cap Times is officially unionized. On April 30th, reporters at the paper announced their intent to form a union. And on May 7th, Cap Times president and publisher Paul Famlin agreed to voluntarily recognize the Cap Times News Guild. Huge news for our local media scene. Two Cap Times reporters are joining us now. Erin Gretzinger, hello.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yes, and Will Briggs, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hey, excited to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, so this is a huge moment. Erin, first off, what does this mean for y'all?
We are absolutely really excited about this step. As you mentioned, we had been working toward this over the past week. So when we were voluntarily recognized, we are really optimistic about the next steps in this process. This is something that long before Will and I even joined the Cap Times in the fall, that reporters had been talking about. This has been something that has, been in the air, I think, among reporters for some time at the Cap Times and wanting to make this step. So we're just really proud right now of the step we have taken as reporters and all the work that has gone into reaching this moment. And I think for us, this is just really exciting about what it means for local journalism. We really want to take this step to ensure that the future of the Cap Times, the paper we all love and that we know serves such an important role in the community, is strong for years to come. So it's just exciting on so many levels personally, and I think for our community as well. And it really just signals that local journalism matters. And yeah, I'm just thrilled on so many levels. I can't fully even put into words.
Yeah, Will, why did y'all unionize? How will a unionized Cap Times be a stronger Cap Times?
So I would say there's not any sort of one particular reason. There's not like one inciting issue that made us go, grr, we have to form a union, right? But we wanted to bring the values of fairness and transparency, really affix and affirm those in our newsroom. So one of the things that I think is just great about unions, in newsrooms especially, is that they promote reporters staying longer. And I think that can basically only be a good thing for everyone involved, right? So as a reporter, the longer you stay in your role, the more you get to know your beat, the more context you have to sort of provide for your readers. And then, the paper itself gets this better, deeper coverage. And then most importantly, the readers are much better informed, right? And I think that can only make for a stronger community and stronger democracy. And the other thing that's great, I think especially about the Cap Times News Guild, is that we have a really great team here. It's a really collaborative atmosphere. And I'm so grateful to sort of work to keep all of my colleagues around for even longer. I told this story on WORT, I think, but within my first month on the job, I had a family emergency that I needed to fly home for. And all of these reporters who barely knew me from anyone else, pitched in to help me with travel expenses. And I think that that's like a really great example of sort of the atmosphere we want to build in our newsroom. It's one where we support one another professionally, personally, and that just makes for stronger reporting because we get to know one another's beats better and just makes it a better place to come to work every day. It's great. We're really excited.
Yeah, it truly is so important. The work that you do, journalism, it is a mission-driven, fulfilling job, and it's really challenging. And you're talking about we want to keep the great people that we have. Erin, I do want to ask, why now? People have come and gone from the Cap Times. Is that part of it? Is it this fear that the culture or something about the way Cap Times has been running was y'all were in danger of having more folks leave?
I think for us, it really was just momentum and this group that Will cited coming together. And I think, this has been something we've talked about, and especially my colleague, Erin McGroarty, who is our most veteran reporter at this time. She's been with the paper for 3 years. And I think that just indicates the level of turnover, which is an industry-wide issue. We're seeing more newsrooms nationwide work to unionize to really meet this moment where journalists have really pressing jobs and really are needed at the local level. And yet there's, cost of living questions, all these other things that are putting pressure on the industry that unions can really help support and make working conditions better for journalists, which, as Will so excellently put before, strengthens the community as a whole. It strengthens our journalism. And I think that really just came together in these past few months with I joined in September, Olivia Herkin joins shortly after, so did Will. So we were just seeing new people come aboard. And I think that was a big part of the timing, was just having that group of people together and the momentum to move forward. And that said, I think, we're really optimistic about the voluntary recognition that we've seen other newsrooms, Wisconsin Watch, ProPublica, other newsrooms across the country, seeing their management take that step. And I think that makes us optimistic too about the next steps forward for the Cap Times and that work that we do want to do collaboratively with management.
Yeah. And the Cap Times has this long history with pro-labor connections. Like, that's one of the really neat things about the Cap Times, for sure. So you did it. You got recognition from leadership. Will, we heard a little bit from Erin, but are you feeling like they're generally supportive?
Yeah, I'd say we were received, we announced, a week and a half ago. That's crazy short time. We were received really cordially. We announced during our regular Thursday staff meeting. And yeah, management listened and heard our concerns, and within a week, we were voluntarily recognized. So we were really thrilled with that.
And that doesn't always happen. We know that does not always happen. That that was a quick turnover.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
And it's all of the reporters in your newsroom, right? Everyone 100% was on board with being in a union.
Yes, that's correct. Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. And I have to put it out there too. Like, Erin, I know you from being on the Badger Herald alumni board together. And then even when you were a student at the Badger Herald, and for a short amount of time that you've been in the Cap Times newsroom, you've been within the Madison media ecosystem for a while. And I'm kind of curious to get your take on this. Like, for all of the local media that Madison has, are you kind of surprised that there aren't more unionized newsrooms? Do you think the Cap Times will kind of pave the way here for more?
I think that's an interesting question. And, maybe this is not a satisfactory response, but I think it's less about what we've done and what newsrooms across the country are recognizing. I think, for me, Wisconsin Watch unionizing was my first significant exposure to seeing a union campaign and seeing again, Wisconsin Watch quickly voluntarily recognized that union, and they were able to, work toward a contract, and they've been growing and really thriving. I think it's just illustrative what unions and that ability to bring a democratic structure to a newsroom. And, there's just so many changes happening, I think, in the media ecosystem in Madison and across the country that just necessitate this kind of structure. And a lot of newsrooms are recognizing that, both reporters and management. And I just think it's a positive step forward for the Cap Times, but I also hope for the Madison community and maybe other newsrooms as well. So we will definitely be keeping an eye on that. But I think it's less about us and more about the circumstances that a lot of newsrooms are facing.
Yeah. Well, Erin, what's next for the union? I mean, it's pretty new. I gotta ask.
No, absolutely. So yeah, we're very early in this process. We're still celebrating the voluntary recognition and thinking about next steps. We'll be we're part of News Guild, so we'll be talking with our rep and looking forward to next steps and contract negotiations. And we, again, really are optimistic about working with management and the voluntary recognition, setting the standard for these conversations and, recognizing again the value that the Cap Times and its journalists that are the Cap Times, what we're bringing to the community.
Well, I can just hear it in both of y'all's voices, just the pride of this moment. And frankly, we know the pride that y'all have in your work. Cap Times does fantastic work. We love having you guys come on the show. We always have. We turn to your reporting so much. And before we let you go, I just want to ask you both, Aaron and then Will, is there any exciting reporting or stories in general that you just want to shout out that's coming down the pike from y'all specifically or anyone else in your news guild?
Yeah, I think, we're doing some really exciting work right now, particularly around development. I think the addition of Will's role, I'm going to shout out Will because I think he's added so much to our newsroom in these past few months, focusing more on housing and transportation specifically. That's like a part of the Cap Times' strategic plan and something that I think readers are really taking notice of. I see our stats where people are reading those stories and really engaged. I mean, for me personally, I've been looking at that a lot as well through the Madison School District's boundary and attendance area review and just the tension between growth in our city and all these other things. It's just a very interesting time to be a Madison journalist, and I think that's touching so many of our stories, and we just have a lot of really in-depth and nuanced coverage, I think, of what's happening in that space right now.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I want to shout out Erin for her incredible K-12 reporting. She rules. The two of us are sort of hatching up a little bit of a project on transportation safety around schools that we're going to be working on here in the next month or so. Timeline TBD with all of these things, but we've got a few ideas. I've had a couple really good conversations with sources already, so I'd say keep an eye out for that.
Incredible. Well, we would love to have you back on the show. Will Briggs, Aaron Gretzinger, two fantastic reporters. Thank you for coming and bringing the news about the new Cap Times News Guild. Congratulations. And yeah, just wishing y'all absolutely the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Before we dive into more stories, we are going to take a quick break. Okay, so kind of big news, commercial news for Madison. Haley, what the heck is happening?
Yes, if you haven't heard, I'm here to tell you the good word. Ikea is coming to Madison. Bianca, are you excited?
I mean, honestly, yes, but then it's like a corporation, so it's like hard for me to get full in because I'm like, oh, complicated history and money and capitalism, but also I like some of the things they do.
I do love me an IKEA. I'm super excited. I feel like, because they're Swedish, maybe we give them a little bit of a pass on the whole American capitalism hellscape thing. I don't know. That's just me wanting to.
No. No, Sweden doesn't get a pass.
They don't get a pass.
Sweden doesn't.
But it seems like the whole city is talking about this IKEA. Like the news broke late last week and it just spread like wildfire. I was out in Middleton because that's where I go and get my nails done. And I was out shopping and I heard like a bunch of people in line when I was checking out. They'd be like, did you hear there's an IKEA's coming? And I was like, okay, this is like big news. People are really, really into it. In terms of the details, where it's going to be on the far west side in the Prairie Town Center over at 215 Junction Road in the space formerly home to Bed Bath & Beyond, RIP, which, I mean, honestly, Bed Bath & Beyond, I had to think about, I'm like, it kind of is an IKEA in a way, but like a little bit less.
It's very similar. And then also like it's a nah for me, dog. Like yeah. I mean they've been having troubles for a long time, and I think everything's on sale, but is it actually on sale? And
that is the capitalist hellscape coming to get us. But I digress. Why Madison? People are like, why is IKEA finally coming to Madison? IKEA leadership has been saying that we really have the perfect population to have an IKEA. We have a lot of young families families, working professionals, and of course, students, because we know no one loves an IKEA more than a college student. And all of that mixed with our growth, like it's really a natural fit for us here. And there's only one other IKEA in Wisconsin located in Oak Creek, which is over like in the Milwaukee area. And then there's like an IKEA pickup location here in Madison, but not an actual store. So like it's about time we get our dues, right?
It makes me feel like Trader Joe's does. And I love, like I want more Trader Joe's. And I know I was hating in the beginning, but I do. I do like IKEA. And it's something that I have, in the past, even, wherever I've lived in the country, will drive to an IKEA if I'm moving to like find some things. And I don't know what it is about Sweden, man. But I've learned a few years back that actually a good majority of my favorite musicians are like from Sweden.
So many producers of the songs that you love the most are made by producers you have never heard of in Sweden. Like that is so real.
Well, of course there's ABBA, but like Licky Lee, Jose Gonzalez. I just ended up being really surprised by like how many First Aid Kit, the two singing sisters, like a lot of indie acts. But you can go on. And it's so much so that I'm like, I want to visit Sweden. Okay, back to IKEA in Madison.
Back to IKEA. I will say, I do kind of feel like IKEA and Trader Joe's are kind of like the same gender of store, if that makes sense. And I'm putting it together in my head in real time, so bear with me. I think it's kind of because like they all do everything in-house, right? Like IKEA, 99% of it is IKEA branded. It's all coming from one place. And like same thing with Trader Joe's. It's all Trader Joe's brand or Trader Jose if you're getting their Mexican food, whatever. But like it just feels like, all right, it's all coming from one place. You know what you're getting. There's not a huge disparity in any of like the quality or anything like that. So it's all, I don't know, those two being aligned makes a lot of sense to me.
And the products feel largely trustworthy.
Yeah. And, for what it's worth, like people will be able to shop thousands of products in this new IKEA store, but this Madison location is going to be much, much smaller than like the behemoths that folks are familiar with when it comes to IKEA. So the Oak Creek location that I mentioned is roughly 300,000 square feet. So like that is a massive warehouse size IKEA. The one that's coming to Madison is going to be 54,000 square feet. So it's a much smaller retail operation, but this is actually part of IKEA's sort of like bigger expansion plans because like you said, IKEA right now, it's like a special trip. You got to drive an hour, make sure your trunk is cleared out or grab a U-Haul so you can haul everything back home and then go to IKEA and come back. But now they're trying to make things a little bit more approachable by opening up a bunch of these smaller locations in retail ready neighborhoods and areas. So the company announced back in March plans to open like 20 of these smaller locations in North America and Europe, and Madison is just part of that.
Wow. Going back to brick and mortar. It's kind of, she's doing something different than everyone else.
We are returning to brick and mortar. We are returning to analog. What year is it? I don't even want to know. But I do want to know, what is the best thing you've ever bought at IKEA?
Well, I just dropped it in our dock so you can see it. And it's a pillow. I've gotten plants that I still have. But I got this pillow that's like white with red tassels. And has all kinds of bright colors and brightly embroidered animals. Like there's a horse on it, and then there's tons of vegetation. And I'm bringing this pillow up and describing it because guess what? You might have it. I have seen this pillow. Not only do I have it, and the back of it is like blue jean blue with some buttons. I've seen it in at least 7 other people's houses. And you know what? Sometimes you're like, I want to be original. I felt like I was picking this original piece. I feel pride when I see it. And it's like, if you have this, like I show up to a friend's house, I'm like, of course, because this is style. This is the epitome
They got good taste, you
Yeah,
know.
have you seen this pillow, Haley?
Okay, I haven't seen that exact pillow, but I've seen like this pillow in many forms, and I have bought a very similar pillow from IKEA. Not the exact one, but I love it. And I mean, I'm a sucker for anything with bright colors and embroidery. So like this is exactly it. I love it. My favorite thing that I've gotten from IKEA is a giant beanbag chair, but it's not actually a beanbag chair. It's like air inflated. And here's the thing. I got this thing in maybe 2005. And I have had it with me. I had it in my last apartment. This thing is 20 years old and still going strong. And it's so weird because I would have people sit down in it and they're like expecting a beanbag chair, you know, to be enveloped by these beans. But no, like it's basically this air mattress, but also feels like a waterbed because it's got like 4 individual parts that you inflate in there. And so people sit down and they're like, what is going on? And I love it. It's not in my current apartment now. I had to send it back home because I just didn't fit with what I have in my current layout, but I will never get rid of that thing. I don't ever want to get rid of that thing. I love it so much. It's so comfortable. And when my cats, at first they were afraid of it, but then they started to like it, especially Billy Joe, my little calico girl cat. She really claimed that thing as her own. And she would just like this
And
tiny
it's
little
cat-proof?
circle.
Like it's air and it's cat proof.
Yeah, because well, first of all, the top cover was like furry. It was this like red plush like fur situation. And then the sides were like this thick red fabric. And my cats didn't claw. I mean, knock on wood, my cats are not that destructive animals in general.
Nice.
But who knows, that can flip on a dime, like literally. But yeah, no pops, no air issues, anything like that. So that is my 10 out of 10 IKEA purchase. I don't even know if they still have them anymore, but I do love it.
I think that what we're coming to is that they're good at design.
Yeah.
And they're just good at design, and we got to give it to them. Got to give credit where credit is due. Like I still have all my Tupperware. It's like, these are the things that I want them to be.
Built to last. And my last question for you here in this IKEA segment, are you a fan of Swedish meatballs? Because of course, it's going to be a much smaller store in Madison, but they are going to have a little deli area for us to get our food fix.
I don't think I've ever had their Swedish meatballs, honestly, but I had Swedish meatballs growing up and they're like a little bit sweeter. But I would say, yes, I'm a fan. Never had IKEA's. Did recently, first time Costco hot dog, but we're talking IKEA Swedish meatballs. What about you, Haley? You're bringing this up.
I don't really like meatballs as a concept. I don't know. Maybe it's a texture thing.
Is it a design thing?
Maybe it's a design thing. Yeah, I don't really just like the balls of meat situation. I love a falafel, which is, you know, conceptually kind of similar. And I do know that IKEA has, you know, kept up, been hip with the times, and they do have Swedish, I think they just call them Swedish plant balls, like the vegetarian version of their meatballs. So maybe I would try those. And because I've never had the meatballs either, it just doesn't really appeal to me. But I know people love them and people do travel for them. So had to ask.
Oh, yeah, I'm totally missing this lore. So thank you for putting me on game. Like, let's go try them out. Swedish plant balls? Is this like you're just putting Swedish in front of things?
Anything can be Swedish.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like, I'm thinking Swedish meatballs are like a little like sweeter, but that is completely unfounded. Let us know. Let us know. IKEA, I'm glad you chose us. Smart choice. You guys do your research. We are going to go. We will be shopping at IKEA. That store will be doing great. Speaking about people doing great things in the Madison area, we've got some great graduates we're going to talk about in a moment. But before we get to our Good on You segment, we're going to take a quick break. We're back. And this past weekend was graduation weekend for UW-Madison folks and folks from Edgewood College. At UW-Madison, I read that nearly 10,000 folks graduated. So, hey, good on you, graduates. It was a big weekend.
Congrats, grads. I love it. Did you run into any traffic downtown or anything for graduation?
I frankly didn't. I might have followed our own advice and even went to a Mother's Day event in a different city, aka McFarland, which is really like not that far away. But yeah, I didn't hit up downtown too much. But how about you? Did you feel the swell of people?
I tried to avoid it, right? Like I took one trip to the West Side to get my nails done. And then I was like, my friend invited me. He was like, oh, do you want to go get drinks at like Plain Spoke or something? And I'm like, yes, but on any weekend other than this one, because I simply do not want to go downtown. And I was like, it's graduation and it's Mother's Day and people are going crazy. Restaurants are going crazy. I would rather just hunker down at home or stick to my corner of the East Side.
Yeah. Yeah. So we stayed a little bit away, but I know a lot of you out there like have people in your life that graduated. Maybe you are a graduate, and we want to say to all of the graduates, good on you. You're making Madison look great. And, I can't help but enjoy the energy. You seeing photos and all of that. As we've talked about on the show, the commencement speaker was James Patterson, like such a heavy-hitting, best-selling author. And I pulled some of the quotes of what he shared with graduates. And he basically was like, I want every graduate to walk out of here feeling that you are worthy, and you're about to find out that feeling worthy is a really big deal in this world, which is obviously, they're gonna say something. I feel like that's a great message. And I pulled some of this from reporting from WKOW from his speech. Patterson was like basically reflecting on his own career and upbringing throughout the speech, and like remembering those moments where he was told literally stay away from fiction when he was in college. Somebody said stay away from fiction. He is one of the highest paid writers of all time. And so he said, quote, my time here is short. What can I do most beautifully? That is the question he asked himself, and it is the question that he posed to all of the graduates. And I just feel like that's so real. Like you really need to show up, feel like you're worth it, and not necessarily listen to all the haters. Because I had a lot of haters. I wanted to graduate with a philosophy degree, and I moved away from it because a lot of people say the classic thing, like, you can't use that. But like, now I ask questions. That's my job. Like, I absolutely could have graduated with philosophy, but I don't know if that relates to you, any of his words.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love that he was like, you're telling me not to do fiction? Okay, I am going to become perhaps the world's most prolific fiction writer you have ever seen, So it's just all about bucking those trends. And I think that I would honestly love to hear this speech on like the first day, like when you get to school. And I remember we had some form of that when I was at UW, they gather all the freshmen up and they're like, be inspired, go out, do the thing. And, when I came into school, I was an undecided major. That was part of the reason why I wanted to go to UW, because I was like, I want to go to a big school where I can experience a lot of different things and maybe figure out what I want to do. Because when I came in, I was like, I'm going to study international business. And then I was like, I actually don't want to take calculus and go to the business school. Shout out to everyone that does. Good for you. But it's just about like figuring out like, hey, you can be a philosophy major and still have a very successful life. Like you can do something with that art history major. You can do something with that journalism degree. Here we are. I love these commencement speeches, but yeah, I wish that we would get those reminders throughout our college careers and then also just throughout life in general, because like, man, I need that boost to be like, hey, if you feel like you're stuck in a rut, you can just kind of keep going and you can figure it out, because that's, you get there in life every now and then.
It's this moment where we start to reflect on the advice that's being given. Like we get put in positions to give advice to kids who are graduating and then receiving lots of advice. And like, for what it's worth, the amount of times I've heard the fluctuations between like what you should be studying, and now they're saying, STEM was the biggest thing, you should be studying STEM, and now there's this growth in AI, and they're like, guess what, a lot of those careers are potentially going to be automated because they're the quickest computational skills, are some of the quickest things that, guess what, computers can do. And now I'm hearing from leaders in AI talking about how the humanities are the smartest thing, and your humanities humanity is one of the assets that you have. I just feel like it's worth, thinking about how we talk to folks who are developing their talent and their interests to like truly do something that you uniquely can bring. And like, I just love his quote, like saying, your time is short here. What can I do most beautifully? Like, stop listening to other people, what they think. They don't know. They don't know.
They don't know. They don't know you. I'm just thinking about maybe in a few years, we'll have a speaker from the AI school giving the commencement speech, but like an AI speaker. I don't like that idea, but I could very much see it happening, right? Like,
yeah.
or like a hologram of Becky Blake. I don't know.
Like bringing folks back. I mean, it's so fair. There's movies, and that's actually that's real. There you go. You're setting the way. And you know what? Fiction writers have been setting the way, and technologists been making it happen. So heck, we're all in this together, and it's a beautiful weekend. Good on you, graduates. I hope that you had the time of your life. And I'll say that graduation in Madison is not done, that the Madison College Spring 2026 graduation ceremony is this Friday, May 15th at 5:30 p.m. at the Alliant Energy Center. You guys matter. Everyone matters. Walk around like you matter and love who you love. I love Swedish artists. Who knew? Who knew? I'm bringing it back to Sweden.
It all comes back to Sweden. I love it, Bianca. This was such a great segment.
Haley, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm your host, Bianca Martin. You can get more news delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to the CityCast Madison newsletter. You should definitely do that. Don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Madison. And if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with someone you'd take to Ikea? All right, see you back here tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, thanks for listening, and shout out to collaborative journalism.